before we go, Derek, give me your Erod prediction.
I knew you were going to do this to me.
Yeah.
5 2/3 innings pitched, 3 runs allowed.
Okay. 5 2/3 is pretty bold. He might be on like maybe an 80 pitch limit, something like that. So he'd be pretty efficient to get through 5 2/3.
For some reason, I don't see it out of the question because I think that he's going to go out there and try to go as long as possible. So hopefully he tries to be a little bit more efficient, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe I said Gabby was going to lead the team in home runs, so I obviously know nothing about the game of baseball. Maybe I do know something about baseball. Welcome in to another edition of the award-winning PHNX Diamondbacks podcast. And since the D-backs are winning, I'm just giving us W's as well. My name, of course, is Derek Monti, occasionally known as the Oracle, as people are now starting to call me. This man next to me is the Thunderstick, occasionally known as your vice mayor, the one and only Jesse Friedman. And yes, the Arizona Diamondbacks do get a sweep. It's kind of behind the scoreboard here. Let me put it out here a little bit more. It's as you can tell, this broom hasn't been used a lot. There hasn't been a lot of sweeping going around here in Arizona lately, but the Diamondbacks managed to do this against the team with the best record in baseball. That's probably what's most impressive, as well as overcoming the rain delay and everything else that they had to overcome in order to get this sweep, Jesse. But man, what a win. What a pair of wins that we saw today.
Yeah, I mean, the Cleveland Guardians used to have the best record in baseball, Derek. They no longer have the best record in baseball.
Before they faced us.
The New York Yankees, I believe, are now just slightly ahead of them in the standings. Yeah, for those who might have been, I think most people probably got what happened at the start of the show. But if anyone did not understand, we played a clip from Monday's show where I asked Derek to make a prediction about Eduardo Rodriguez's final line in his Diamondbacks debut. And Derek, I am disgusted at how perfectly accurate your prediction wound up being. 5 2/3, 3 earned runs. It was spot on.
I mean, it's only because, of course, I'm a witch, and that's why the broom is here. It's also because
some of your past predictions suggest otherwise.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Maybe I'm just laying low at times, but of course, a lot of this had to do with, what Eduardo Rodriguez does historically. Like, that kind of felt like what we saw out of Erod when he was a member of the Tigers. It felt like what you would get, I guess maybe like best case scenario. Like, you're not thinking Erod's going to go out there in his debut, especially when he didn't make any rehab starts and just blow away a team like the Cleveland Guardians. This team's too good for that. They also know him too well for that. But what they did get was a very, very fine debut from Erod. And I mean, I think this is the exact pitcher that the Diamondbacks went out and got in free agency.
Yeah, it was, it wasn't necessarily dominant. That's not a word that I would use to describe his outing today. He had 2 whiffs. There wasn't exactly a ton of swing and miss, but he was hitting the edges. We have a graphic here that shows the balls that were in play against Erod. So these are specifically the pitches he threw, the Guardians hitters actually put in play, whether it was an out or a hit. And almost all of these are right on the edge of the strike zone. There's maybe 1 or 2 pitches here that you could pinpoint as a mistake. But yeah, this was Eduardo Rodriguez working the corners really well. And that's why I'm not looking at, we've had conversations about like how many whiffs is Jordan Montgomery having, on a day-to-day basis. And if that number was 2, we're probably not, super excited about that performance, even if his final line looked good. This was a day for Eduardo Rodriguez where even though he wasn't generating swing and miss, he was really working the corners effectively.
Yes.
Like it seemed like he was effective in that way. It wasn't just like a bunch of hard contact or, hard hit balls that just found gloves. I thought, it wasn't perfect by any means. 5 2/3, 3 runs, as we said before. but he gave the Diamondbacks, as you predicted, he gave the Diamondbacks pretty much exactly what they needed to win this game.
He was pitching to contact, and it was effective because he didn't seem scared to pitch to contact. It seems like that's very much a part of his game. And like you said, even though he's throwing 89 miles per hour at time, 89 mile per hour fastballs, like that's not really going to get it done, but he was hitting the corners. He was hitting the edges. He did a great job of that. He also did a great job of working with a man making his debut today in the major leagues. That's Adrian Del Castillo. And again, Del Castillo is a name that we've been very excited about. I think that kind of makes what he did today a bit more impressive, right? He didn't do this with Gabby or Jose Herrera out there. And it's not to say either one of those guys would have done a better job, because Del Castillo is fine. He did a great job. He's just a rookie that's making his debut. And it's impressive that the tandem got the results that they did.
Yeah, a lot has happened, Derek, since we last did a show.
Yes.
Adrian Del Castillo is on the Diamondbacks because one Gabriel Moreno suffered a strained left adductor. It's basically a strained groin on Monday night. Obviously, a really big blow for the team. The D-backs wound up coming back and winning that game in really impressive fashion, which kind of helped cushion the blow. But it was a blow. I mean, Gabriel Moreno has been on an absolute tear for the Diamondbacks ever since coming off the injured list on July 2nd. An OPS pushing up toward 900 in that span. So a really big loss for them, but also a big opportunity for Adrian Del Castillo to come up and show what he could do. Something that we expected would probably happen at some point this year, just given the numbers that Del Castillo was putting up down in AAA at a 10-10 OPS, 24 homers, 70 RBI, led the Pacific Coast League in doubles. This was an opportunity that he very much deserved. And it was just one game, but 1 for 3 with a double and a walk. You'll certainly take that in your big league debut.
And you said he led the PCL in doubles, and he doubles in his very first big league at bat.
The chat is bringing up something actually relatively hilarious. Eduardo Rodriguez made Adrian Del Castillo throw down signs.
Yeah,
instead of
using a pitch com, which is crazy.
Yeah,
have you seen that?
That's not really something that we see really at all at this point. That is pretty wild. So, Eduardo Rodriguez he's a creature of habit, I suppose. Maybe a little old school in that sense. I guess he made Adrian Del Castillo work for it a little bit more on his big league debut.
I love it though. I love that, and I love the fact that he was able to go out there and get the results he did. That made me look so smart. I also love the fact that now the Diamondbacks have what is starting to look like a complete starting rotation. We don't know what that looks like out of this team, or from this team, I should say. Up to this point, it's kind of been fragmented. It's been guys filling in. It's not to say that at this point they're at 100%, but it feels like Merrill Kelly is getting very close. We're going to talk about him in a little bit, but man, I mean, this is exciting for this team that is already one of the best teams in baseball right now. I feel like I can say that without hyperbole. They might have not had the best record, but they just went out and beat the team with the best record, swept them. That is something that can't be understated enough here about this series win. I mean, we've seen so much from the Diamondbacks so far. We've seen them do so much, Jesse. I mean, there's been some impressive wins over this streak of not losing series. This is their 11th win or split of a series in a row. This team feels a bit unstoppable right now, and they're just getting more and more pieces back. Unfortunately, they lose Moreno, and we don't know for how long. They've lost Christian Walker, but it's like this team is kind of used to that at this point. Like losing players to injury is nothing new to this team. It's like I've been hit before. It doesn't hurt that bad, and like this team just finds a way to continue to win. This series wasn't an easy series, again, with the weather delay in game 2, and of course with the comeback victory in game 1. This game today the final game today got very exciting. I should say that. Wait, we saw 18 innings of baseball. I've seen a lot of baseball today. It all kind of runs together, but there was just some impressive performances today. And of course, Eduardo Rodriguez is one of them. But on the other side, on game 1, Brandon Pfaadt was dominant today. Really and good. I mean, he looked really good, and he continues to be, at least for now, the Diamondbacks' most consistent pitcher. You know what you're going to get out of him, including that bad inning that he always, all of a sudden, things fall apart. But he's done a better job at getting it back together and still giving the Diamondbacks, more after that.
100%. Yeah. I mean, he threw 4 perfect innings to start this game. It was about as good as we've ever seen Brandon Pfaadt. It was actually the second time this season that he's thrown 4 perfect innings to start out a game. He did it back on April 22nd against the St. Louis Cardinals. That was a game that kind of unraveled for him. I think he finished 5 1/3, 3 runs or something like that. The Cardinals got to him, and it very much looked like that's what was going to happen again today, right? 4 perfect innings, and then in the 5th, the Guardians strung together, 4 hits, I think, in the first 5 batters of that 5th inning, including a home run that was in there as well. And the D-backs defense came up really big and picked him up. There's a lot of really good defense for the D-backs in that first game of the doubleheader, really in both games. But I think the play that stands out most is Corbin Carroll turning a double play, second and third, 1 out.
Huge.
Bo Naylor at the plate, and Carroll not only makes a sliding grab to field a pop fly that was in a tough spot, he also gunned down Daniel Schneemann at home. Really nice tag on that play by Jose Herrera, just perfectly executed, and a huge momentum boost for the Diamondbacks at a time where it looked like the game might be slipping away for them.
And I think that got Pfaadt out of the inning, and that was, like I said, that was that inning where the wheels started to fall off a bit. Pfaadt goes out there and still gives the Diamondbacks like an inning and a third after that, I believe. After that point,
he was able to get through the 6th, and then he came out and got the first out of the 7th inning as well. 6 1/3, 4 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. That was, I mean, it wound up being one of the best Pfaadt outings we've seen this season, but also like not uncharacteristic, right? Like Pfaadt 6 1/3, 2 runs. That's just sort of another day for him at this point. He's obviously made enormous strides for the D-backs this season.
This was an interesting day for Torey to kind of manage the bullpen in both of these games.
Yes.
Because he has to decide who he's going to go to in one game, who he's going to go to in another game. He got some great performances today, maybe some little shaky performances out of the other guys. Joe Mantiply pitched in both games, so he deserves a little bit of credit for going out there and doing the thing in both games when Torey called upon him. I know it was just one.
He faced the same batter both times. He was like the designated Josh Naylor
pitcher.
guy.
He got his results.
Yeah,
he did exactly what he was supposed to do.
He absolutely did. Yeah. The Diamondbacks bullpen, oddly enough, feels like the shakiest part of this team right now in some ways.
I hate it. I hate it so much.
I mean, I guess the starting rotation hasn't necessarily been completely stable. Like Zach Gallen has struggled a bit. Obviously Jordan Montgomery, you're still kind of trying to figure out what you're going to get there. But this bullpen, it's weird. I mean, you look at the numbers for the series, and the Diamondbacks, I think, allowed 2 runs over 9 innings in the series against the Guardians.
No runs today. Yet it feels like they gave up 10.
But it's just very eventful, right? Ever since the Diamondbacks made the decision to remove Paul Sewald from the closer role, I don't think there's been a single uneventful 9th inning. It's pretty much always been you're having to backstop whoever the first closer is and kind of bring in another guy to try to get out of the inning. That's worked a couple of times. Ryan Thompson, of course, got the first few opportunities there. And then today, Justin Martinez found a way to finish the job. But Torey Lovullo had Slade Ciccone also ready to go in the bullpen. Looked like he was maybe just a batter away from making a change there.
And I don't hate that. I don't hate what the versatility that at least Torey isn't deciding you're the closer tonight and then anointing some guy and then deciding to live or die with that particular relief pitcher, 100%. Right? Torey has the versatility to go out there, and if Justin Martinez, did one more thing, I don't know, one more hit was gonna blow that game wide open and it was gonna be a loss, right? They were at least a tie ball game, right? So
if Lane Thomas had not struck out there, you're in a precarious spot because Jose Ramirez is on deck, and at that point, at least 1 run would have already scored.
Right.
So you're talking about having, the winning run in scoring position and Jose Ramirez at the plate. Jose Ramirez is an insanely good baseball player.
Good.
That's one thing that I learned.
He's so good at third base
over the last. I mean, I guess I already knew that Jose Ramirez is very good at baseball, but he is on another level right now.
You're kind of in awe of watching him in person. And again, there was also a moment where he almost got hit by a pitch, Jesse, and it had to be the most unintentional hit by pitch moment ever, because even though they didn't hit him, you would never try to hit Jose Ramirez no matter how good he is, because you don't want to fight that man. you saw what happened to Tim Anderson. You don't want that. You don't want to take that L. Okay, so
Tim Anderson has no career anymore.
Exactly. He will end you in a fight, and he will end your career also. But I think that's the thing about this bullpen overall is this bullpen did a great job at walking that tight line. And again, Torey has the versatility to use different guys in different moments. Of course, it feels like he is trusting Justin Martinez a little bit more. Did they do the pep talk? Maybe they didn't do the pep talk tonight. I think they need to do the pep talk.
The J-Mart pep talk?
The J-Mart pep talk.
They did it with first and second. And
yeah, it was maybe a little too late.
Yeah, no, you got to start out the inning with the pep talk.
Yeah, they did it after he yanked his throw to center field.
Yeah, no, I don't
Which
like
is
that.
not a good decision. You can still see, not only is J Mart's command a little shaky in some of these 9-inning spots, you're seeing him defensively kind of struggle to make decisions quickly enough, right? There was a moment in this game, obviously, where he tried to get an out at second base, tried to get the lead man, and winds up throwing it out into center field. Wasn't total disaster. No one was able to advance. Fortunately, Alek Thomas is right there to back up the play. But yeah, Justin Martinez, I mean, I guess he's sort of the closer right now, Derek. Like a next save opportunity against the Phillies, you feel like he's probably the guy. He's 2 for 2 now, going back to Monday's game, but it hasn't necessarily been as pretty as you might like.
It's interesting you say that, just because I kind of felt based on game 1 that they put Paul Sewald back in the 9th inning. And even though it's not a save opportunity, it feels like we are inching closer and closer. Like Paul Sewald is now not in the kiddie pool anymore. He's back in the big diving pool. He's inching his way down on the steps, but he's almost there, right? And I mean, we know Paul Sewald is still a quality pitcher, and he's been good in the role. I mean, he's been professional about accepting, this role of being removed from the closer and being a reliever, and he's done a great job so far in the opportunity, or in the outings that he's had. It
looked a little shaky for me today. If Sewald had gone out there 1, 2, 3 inning, no problem, one strikeout, couple of pop-ups or something like that, I could maybe see a world where the D-backs really do look at just putting him right back in the closer role after a few good outings. That's not the sense that I got watching him today. There was quite a bit of hard contact, some good Diamondbacks defense. So I think you're maybe still, not to say it couldn't happen at some point. I still think that the D-backs are probably very much leaving the door open for Sewald to regain that closer role. I still think that's probably what they want to happen, because we've seen them kind of go through all the other options, and none of them have looked great so far. I feel like we're still a ways away from that, though.
I don't know if ways away is that it. I don't know if ways away, because again, you're right. I still think Justin Martinez is the closer of the future for this team. And when I say the future, I mean very soon. Like, I could see that being the case as of right now, but I do still like, once again, like I said, the versatility that Torey has of being able to go to his golf bag and go to a different club should the occasion call for it there in the 9th inning, should things fall apart. And today, the beauty about Slade is Slade could give them length. So if he did have to bring Slade into the 9th in an occasion where the Guardians tied the game, he knows that Slade can give him a few more innings and go out there in the 10th and maybe the 11th, because Slade has been good 1 to 2 times at the max through the rotation. So
one time. Let's be clear about this.
I know. I'm just excited about the wins. Okay, I'm getting very excited here, but
yeah, I mean, one time through an order that can still get you through 2 or 3 innings. Yeah. So yeah, your point.
Forget all this pitching stuff. I want to talk about the dingers. The Diamondbacks are mashing the goddamn ball, and I am here for it, and I love it. Jesse, they have been out hitting their opponents in pretty impressive fashion. The 6 home runs today in the 2 ball games ties a franchise record for most homers in a doubleheader. And you found some impressive stats about them out hitting their opponents over this winning stretch that they've been on.
Yeah, I believe it's 57-24. The Diamondbacks have out-homered their opponents 57-24 going back to July 2nd. That's more than a month ago. That's the start of the Dodgers series. Yeah, I mean, how many times has Mike Hazen gone on the record and said, like, our offense, like, we're good, but we're not the type of team that's going to go out there and hit 3 or 4 homers a night.
We're not hitting the ball over the wall all the time. We got to do it in other ways.
That's been Hazen's refrain, right?
Torrey
for more than a year.
Torrey talks about their version of baseball, right? Like when he talks about Diamondbacks baseball, and he's all, we're getting back to our brand of baseball. Their brand of baseball is handing the baton off to the next guy, getting singles, using their speed, things like that. That is not what is happening right now. No. They are abusing baseballs, and you love to see it.
They came into today, if we go back to June 29th, so this is the start of the current 24-9 stretch that the Diamondbacks are in right now. They came into today with an 857 OPS in those games. That doesn't include today's numbers, but that's insane. Like, for a team to be putting up an OPS north of 850 over a span that's longer than a month, right? I mean, that's like, we're talking 40 days of the D-backs having a team OPS north of 850. This team is on a tear offensively right now.
Piece of Yoshi, thank you for your super chat. He says, nobody look at the XBA on Perdomo's and Carroll's home runs.
The XBA was 1,000 because it went over the wall.
That is, you're damn right it is. Geraldo Perdomo hits his first home run of the season. We got a weird notification from the Diamondbacks where they said it was his first home run since like August 13th last year against the San Diego Padres. Yeah. Maybe regular season.
Yeah, regular season.
But let's not forget the 4 home run inning in the NLDS. Okay, like put some respect.
Perdomo got the party started.
Yeah, put some respect on the party starter there, because that's what Perdomo does. That's his job. And he got a dinger today. Corbin Carroll also got a nice home run out there to right field. Corbin Carroll's just hitting the ball very hard. The launch angle might be 0 degrees, but he's hitting the ball very hard. And of course, if he can still kind of rectify that flat swing, I feel like everything could come together very quickly for Corbin Carroll. 7 of his he has 9 home runs now. 7 of his 9 home runs have happened since July 7th. So he is really starting to come back online with his power, which is something we didn't know if we would see return this season with the way that the beginning of the year looked. He had 1 home run in April, 1 home run in May, 0 home runs in the month of June, and things looked fairly bleak for Corbin Carroll. But even his outs today were hit fairly hard, and you saw it. The Guardians were making some spectacular plays on Corbin Carroll, which just felt like some bad luck out there. But he is definitely putting some wood on the ball.
Yeah, Corbin has looked a whole lot better here over the last month. Another guy who has looked very, very good at the plate for the Diamondbacks is Josh Bell.
It's incredible.
Who I guess we'll just jump into our King Snake. Josh Bell is the King Snake for this series.
Look, he just jumps right into it like that.
This is my show now, Derek. I'm just breaking all the rules. I'm going to talk about Josh Bell.
It was an aggressive King Snake transition.
He's the King Snake. Yeah. So Josh Bell, 5 for 14 in the series, 2 homers, 3 RBI. He also had a triple in Monday's game, which was a sight to behold.
It really was.
2 homers in this game alone, right? He's had 2 multi-home run games already in his first 6 games as a member of the Diamondbacks. He's the first player in franchise history to do that. And Derek, you look at his numbers as a Diamondback right now. He is 7 for 26 with 4 homers, 5 RBI. He is slashing 269, 321, 808. That is his slugging percentage, not his OPS. He has an 1129 OPS
his slugging percentage
since joining the Diamondbacks. And that's why, you don't want to downplay the impact that Christian Walker has on this team, right? But to this point, the reality is the Diamondbacks haven't really felt it, because Josh Bell, I mean, sure, the defense is not anywhere close to what Christian Walker's defense is. We've seen that. There were a couple of hiccups over there today, but you can live with that if Josh Bell is going to have an 1129 OPS. I don't know if that's going to stay, but he has been outstanding for the Diamondbacks here in these first 6 games.
Well, and of course, he wasn't the only one. Ketel Marte continues to be outstanding.
Somehow, I think that's the first Ketel mention on this.
Yeah, I don't even understand. He had a 2-run home run himself. Perdomo had a 2-run home run. Corbin Carroll had a 2-run home run. Gino Suarez got an RBI double as well. The D-backs defense played great, but their offense has just been outstanding lately, Jesse, and I think that's the most impressive thing here. We knew that the D-backs coming into the series would have to strike early against the Guardians with how good their relievers have been, but that really wasn't the case. I mean, the Diamondbacks in this one did put up some runs early, but so far in this series, the Diamondbacks were able to attack that bullpen and get a lot of damage against the Guardians relievers that have, been up to this point the best at least ERA for a bullpen in all of baseball.
Yeah, the Diamondbacks absolutely held their own against the Guardians bullpen, right? They only saw Emmanuel Clase once in the series, which certainly helps. But they did manage to score a run off him. Granted, it was in large part because they had a runner at second to start the inning.
You don't have to do that.
With the ghost runner in the 10th inning on Monday.
Just let them have it.
But yeah, they executed well. Like Gino Suarez was able to hit one of those nasty Clase cutters into the outfield for a sac fly to bring home Corbin Carroll, and that was Monday, and Justin Martinez was able to finish the job there. So, but yeah, it's not just Clase, right? We talked about it on Monday before the series started. This Guardians bullpen has a lot of weapons, a lot of guys with ERAs that start with a 0 or a 1. And the D-backs hung in there against really all of those guys. They just don't seem to look overmatched no matter who's on the mound right now. And again, that just goes back to an offense that's putting up an 850 OPS over, more than 30 games. It's remarkable what we've seen from the D-backs bats here in this last month.
I think it's been their ability to go in there and just focus on winning the series and accomplishing that task. This is a sweep, and this one feels extra sweet because not only did they sweep one of their teams during this, road trip, but it was the team with the best record in Major League Baseball. I mean, overall, I think that now makes us the best team in baseball, even though records might not indicate that such. But
they are the hottest team in baseball. Like the Diamondbacks are the hottest team in baseball, I think, pretty objectively. It is pretty crazy to me to think about 1 week ago today, which was our pool day out at Chase Field. Shouts out to everyone who joined us out there. It was a great day. But that was sort of a monumental day for the Diamondbacks because it was a sweep, right? It was a sweep of the Washington Nationals, just the second sweep the Diamondbacks.
That was like 3 times in a row.
We're allowed to say it
I don't know.
Right?
Sean in this chat says no more S word until the next one, but
the Diamondbacks entered that series last week literally with one sweep the entire season, right? And it happened at the beginning of May against the Cincinnati Reds. And, you go from sweeping the Nationals, which felt, pretty good for a lot of people, to now you're talking about sweeping the Cleveland Guardians on the road, right? A team that I think had a 35-17 record at home entering the series or something close to that. So this is like, for all of the good that this team has done over the last 40 days or so, this series right here feels like the pinnacle of everything. I mean, to go into that stadium and make a statement in the way that the Diamondbacks did, especially with a doubleheader, like sweeping a doubleheader in and of itself, I think is an accomplishment.
Yeah, very much so.
Just super, super impressive.
Impressive win, impressive job by this team. And of course, we ain't done yet because this race is still very, very close for a wild card spot and maybe, just maybe, the National League West Division.
3.5 games.
Yeah, the crazy thing is they can get this hot and still only be like a half game up.
Yeah,
like in the wild card,
right? Well, and I mean the positive about it is that it's dividing the contenders, right? Like we all season long they were all bunched together very closely, and now it's getting to the point where the Mets right now I think are the only team on the outside looking in. That could be the Braves very quickly, which is a wild thing to even say.
Braves have the third wild card spot right now.
Right. And the Mets still aren't losing too many games themselves, not as many as the Braves have been losing. So that's an interesting story to keep an eye on. And of course, as long as the Diamondbacks can somehow secure their place in the playoffs, I think that's all that we're looking for here. Like, you can have bigger aspirations about the division, and I think that's great. But we've already seen that the Diamondbacks really just need to get to the dance in order to make some noise. And that's what we really need to focus on right now. I'm focused on having so many of you guys here watching tonight. Of course, we love you. We appreciate you guys being here. If you have not subscribed to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel, we implore you to do so now. Of course, smash that like button because I have self-esteem issues and it makes me feel better about myself. He really he doesn't care one way or another. He's oblivious to it, but it's all for me. Of course, also make sure that you sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss whenever our shows go live. If you're listening on the audio podcasting side, we appreciate you guys as well. We love you. We love our listeners. Make sure you're subscribed on your favorite audio podcasting app and leave us a review. We appreciate those 5-star reviews a ton. And I also appreciate the fact that PHNX is proud to have Sanderson Ford as our official vehicle partner. I appreciate it because Sanderson Ford is the exact place that I want to buy my next vehicle. I was already looking at the 2024 Big Bend Bronco, right? And that was already something I wanted, but
you were more than just looking at it,
Derek. No, I dream
about
it. I fantasize about it. Jesse catches me on the website building it and putting different color combinations together and all that. But what I'm really excited to tell you guys about is the diner at Sanderson Ford.
100%.
I don't think that I don't even think that that's part of what they really want us to sell here, but it doesn't matter if you're in the market for a new vehicle. You can also, or if you're looking to have your vehicle serviced, it's the perfect place to go either way because of the fact that they have this amazing diner on premise that you can go to and have some of the best diner food you've ever had. It was I am not ashamed to say I had one of the best cheeseburgers I've had in the last year of my life at Sanderson Ford.
I mean, maybe not everyone's currently in the market for a car, but everyone is always in the market for a good burger, right?
He's not wrong.
I think we can all agree
He's
on
not
that.
wrong.
So
It's also a 65-acre facility, which makes it the largest Ford dealership in the nation. They have a museum also on site that's very, very cool. If you're just an auto aficionado, make sure to go check out Sanderson Ford. But also while you're there, check out the amazing deals they have because they are pushing for the playoffs right now, just like the Diamondbacks are. And you get the payoffs like deals on that 24 Ford Bronco Sport Big Bend that I want, just ranked highest in quality in its segment by JD Power. You can get 0% financing for 36 months with no payments for 90 days on the Ford F-150, Escape, Edge, Explorer, and Expedition. So check out Sanderson Ford right now. Check out their summer sales event. It is here, and they are teaming up with the Boys of Summer for a final playoff payoff sale. Purchase or lease any new Ford and get 4 tickets for your family to see the D-backs push for the playoffs. Get 0% for 36 months OAC from Ford Credit. See dealer for details. Also, of course, big shout out to Bet365. Bet365 makes sports more fun. Their live betting really makes sports more fun. They were an innovator in live betting, and they offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports, including esports. And I definitely want to bet on some Tekken and see somebody wax another player and also win me some money. Right now, new customers can choose between some great offers when you sign up using our code of PHNX365. Deposit $10 and choose either between a bet and get offer where you can place a $5 bet or more and get $150 in free bets, or a first bet safety net offer by placing up to a $1,000 bet. And if your qualifying bet loses, you receive a matched refund in bonus bets. Right now with Bet365, you get the early payout offer for baseball. You're a winner if you go ahead, if your team that you pick goes ahead by 5 runs with an instant payout. Parlay and same game parlay selections will be marked as winners. Words are hard sometimes, folks. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why it is never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and over and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov. All right, well, let's take a look at the count from this series presented by Desert Financial Credit Union. Diamondbacks outscored the Guardians 19-12. They out-hit nobody because both teams got 25 hits. Runners in scoring position, Guardians were 4 for 21. Diamondbacks were 5 for 21. The big difference in this series was the long ball for the Diamondbacks. Again, they just out-hit their opponent with the long ball. Relief pitching ERA, starting pitching ERA, both plus for the Diamondbacks here. Diamondbacks had a 4.74 starting ERA to the 6.28 for the Guardians. A 2.00, very impressive relief pitching ERA, even though, once again, it didn't feel like the bullpen was that good in the series to the Guardians. 5.27, another, again, just very impressive that the Diamondbacks were able to put that many runs against this bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, that, if you want to kind of simplify it, right? I mean, the D-backs bullpen was way better than the Guardians bullpen. I mean, that was ultimately the difference, at least the biggest difference between these two teams in the series. And I go back to the Monday game, which I think was probably the Diamondbacks' most impressive win of the series. I know we didn't have a post-game show on Monday, didn't get a chance to really dive into it. It was the second consecutive day where Jock Peterson hit a game-changing, just totally electric late game home run, right? I mean, it was a 2-run shot that turned a 1-run deficit into a 1-run lead. D-backs wind up, got interesting from there. Ryan Thompson blows the save. You go to extra innings. D-backs wind up winning the game in large part because of that. But in that game on Monday, you immediately saw the D-backs holding their own against Guardians relievers. And it wasn't just the runs that they scored. It was the number of pitches that they made Guardians relievers throw. If you look at just the first 3 innings in that game, after Logan Allen left for the Guardians, the first 3 innings pitched by Guardians relievers, D-backs hitters made them throw 84 pitches in those 3 innings. I think it was Cade Smith was the first guy out of the bullpen. He got 2 outs on 34 pitches. He wasn't able to finish the inning on 34 pitches, right? And it goes back to what we were saying earlier about the D-backs. They just find a way to hold their own. You know, guys with really crazy numbers for the season that get in there against this team, at least right now, and they're, you know, D-backs hitters are able to just put up really good at bats and get results as well. So that game was really, really impressive, really stood out to me in this series.
I feel like at one point when this offense was really struggling, I was screaming and you were calmly both screaming about, you know, the patience, right? Like we just saw a complete lack of patience with this team at times. We saw them going out there and popping up a lot of first pitches. We saw them just swinging and just like not making the opposing pitcher work. In this series, I was kind of waiting for them to attack and do their thing in the first inning. And they did it in one of the games, right? But for the most part, we didn't really see them have that big offensive output that we thought we would see against the starting pitching. Like the starting pitching ERA, not great there for the Cleveland Guardians. They gave up, of course, 10 runs, just like the Diamondbacks starting pitching did, but in only 14 1/3 innings pitched. And the starting pitching was just not, I mean, it was bad, but it wasn't as bad as we kind of expected it to be. The Diamondbacks didn't get as many runs against the starting pitching in this series as we might have thought, with the way that, especially that they've been scoring in the first inning over this run that they've had since July. But I mean, right now they're just figuring out a way to get to different pitchers. And it did feel like it at this time, you know, like kind of like the Pirates series, right? Like it felt like with the Pirates series, they kind of needed to wait out the excellent starting pitching in that series. Like the Diamondbacks attacked the relievers once they got to the bullpen in Pittsburgh, and they did the same thing against the Guardians. They just really attacked the relievers and didn't fear the fact that this team did have, at least on paper, the best bullpen in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, they did make some noise, I guess, early in the games, right? I mean, it wasn't, the start of Monday's game wasn't quite the start of the Pirates series where they had the Corbin Little League homer followed by back-to-back homers after that. It wasn't quite to that level, but we did have back-to-back homers to start this series for the Diamondbacks, right? Ketel Marte hit a solo shot, and then Gabriel Moreno hit a solo shot in that game as well. Of course, winds up getting hurt later in that one. But Ketel Marte, Derek, you know, in the first inning and the ninth inning in particular, this is a man you do not want to face.
Don't pitch to him.
I believe we're up to
give him the Barry Bonds treatment.
Yeah.
I think we're at 17 of his 29 homers this season have been in either the first inning or the ninth inning. 9 of them in the first, 8 of them in the ninth. That's insane. I mean,
it's wild.
It's like Ketel kind of like in the middle innings, you know, the moment's not maybe quite as big, but at the very beginning of the game, he's ready to make a statement, and at the very end of the game,
he's ready to win the damn thing.
He absolutely. Vince Marotta, I thought, put it in a fantastic way on Twitter. Our friend over from Arizona Sports, he said that it's almost like Ketel Marte has become the closer for the Diamondbacks because he's hitting a ninth inning home run to extend the lead. It feels like almost every game. Obviously, he didn't do that in the second game today, but that's happened several times here in just the last week.
And how important have those been? How many of those games end up being a one-run victory
pretty
for
much
the Diamondbacks,
all of them.
right? Like, it's crazy how important that run, you know, that what that run has meant to the Diamondbacks. And even in some instances, it has felt like it was unnecessary until the Diamondbacks tried to close out the game, and you saw how important adding that
those
extra
runs have
offense.
Been pretty necessary.
Yeah, very necessary. Well, and this man doesn't lie when he quotes stats. Of course, you know I'm a notorious liar, except when I'm telling you about the future. But we also know that the numbers, they never lie. Jesse, what do you got for this week or today's number that doesn't lie?
Yeah, today's number is 931. I think this is maybe flown under the radar a little bit. This is Corbin Carroll's OPS.
What?
Going back to July 7th. This is Corbin Carroll's OPS over exactly July 7th, exactly a month ago today. So the last month, Corbin Carroll is slashing 235, 343, 588. As you mentioned earlier, 7 of his 9 homers this season in that span. He also has 4 triples and a double in that span as well, 5 for 5 in stolen bases. Has it looked to me like the exact same Corbin from a year ago? Not quite. I guess the batting average stands out there. He's, still a few more pop-ups than you might like to see.
Sure.
But he's making pretty good swing decisions. He's drawing walks. He's not striking out a whole lot. And he has a lot of power. Like Corbin Carroll he's basically up there like a cleanup hitter type over the last month, right? Maybe he's not getting quite the volume of hits that you would like to see, but a whole lot of them are going over the fence or, going to the fence where he often winds up on third base. So yeah, he has looked a whole lot better here over the last month.
A lot of them are hard hit balls. And that's the important thing is that there's still a couple of things with his swing that aren't, 100%. And it feels like he's still slowly adapting to the changes he made, but the changes are becoming more. I mean, I don't know. I know that he had more home runs last year and he had more success last year. I just don't remember him necessarily always hitting the ball, even when he was making outs at 100 miles per hour, exit velo almost every time. Like it feels like yet then when he does hit the ball today for a home run, it's like 95 miles per hour over the right, fence. But I'm just, it's exciting because this team, of course, needs these contributions from everybody, but everybody is contributing. You can't say enough about Josh Bell and what he's been able to do for this team offensively since he's joined it. He has literally made the Diamondbacks not miss Christian Walker offensively. Defensively, he is very much a reminder of how good Christian Walker is. And you can tell because they go to Kevin Newman there late in games to just ensure that, you don't have a misplay over there at first base. Kevin Newman's defense has been good, but it still isn't nearly as good as what we see out of Christian Walker day in and day out. It's just amazing how much he is an unsung hero when it comes to his defense. And we preach about it often on this show, but it's just first basemen hardly get the love that they deserve. Christian Walker is just a stellar defensive first baseman. Yeah. Meanwhile, though, Josh Bell has helped to at least ease the pain of losing Christian Walker in the starting lineup because he has been outstanding for this team. He was outstanding for a stretch coming into this team when the Diamondbacks made that trade for cash considerations, who we will dearly miss cash, very much so. But
when the D-backs announced the trade, I don't know if we ever touched on this. When they officially announced the trade, it said cash considerations or a player to be named later. I guess maybe it's possible the D-backs are sending a player to the Marlins eventually for that trade.
Is it if he stays on the roster for the playoffs?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's contingent on something. I mean, it's already clearly been reported by a number of people that the D-backs are paying $2.25 million of his deal the rest of the way. Right. So they're certainly sending cash, but maybe they're sending a player as well.
Ryan there in the chat says, man, Josh Bell is doing almost too well. He's making it difficult to miss C-Walk, not when it comes to defense, that's for sure. Yeah. But he is, it is kind of a problem because, of course, this was just kind of meant to patch the team while Christian Walker was gone. But Josh Bell might be too valuable to necessarily part ways with. Like we do know when September rolls around, the expanded rosters are there, but that difficult decision doesn't go away when we get, to playoff time.
Yeah, this was a mailbag question that we had on Monday. Like, what are the D-backs going to do with Josh Bell once Christian Walker does come back? And our answer was like, yeah, with the expanded roster on September 1st, that could give you some runway to keep both guys for a while, but it's just unclear where Josh Bell is playing, how he's going to get opportunities. I think we narrowed it down to like a short side platoon DH. Like you could have him DHing against lefties. Yeah. You're not going to have him DH against righties because Jock Peterson. So yeah, that continues to be a fascinating question moving forward. But for right now, for the next few weeks, Josh Bell is your everyday first baseman. And it looks like the Diamondbacks, hit a total home run making that deal.
Was that pun intended?
That I guess it was a little bit pun intended, just a little bit.
Oh, well, it's funny because my next transition was to talk about Max. So it's very fitting that you made a pun while I'm about to talk about Max, but that's only because Max is kind of a psychopath. And I say that because I did a Circle K run yesterday for the fam. Of course I left Saul out. But I did a Circle K run for the fam. And, everybody gave me reasonable selections, Jesse. I believe Mac asked me for a sugar-free Red Bull. Lindsay wanted some M&Ms. And then, of course, Max has to ask me to bring him an XL Polar Pop. And as if like me buying stuff for the office wasn't, like the message wasn't clear that it's going to be a cumbersome trip back with bags in my hand. Max asks me for a very specific flavor of Powerade from the Polar Pop machine. And I wanted to get your thoughts on if that makes him a bad person, as people have indicated he is.
This might be my favorite time that you've ever pitched an ad read over to me. Like, is Max a bad person? Yes, Max is a bad person. There we go.
I just want to make sure.
Is that the answer you're looking for?
I'm contractually obligated to receive Polar Pops and Frosters. And of course, it's only 79 cents. So it's not a huge financial obligation to my company. But you should be smart and make a deal like that with your company. At least throw it in the rider, see if they notice it. Maybe you'll get it. And then that way you can point back to your contract and say, look, you guys promised me a Froster every single day. But don't make someone go buy you a fountain drink, like when they're already buying a bunch of other stuff for a bunch of other people. That's all I'm saying. But what you can ask them to do is to pick you up all sorts of wonderful Circle K snacks that they have, and canned beverages and closed bottles, like Espo asked me. Oh, I'm not supposed to talk about what Espo asked me for. He's not allowed to have those, but I kind of supply them to him. Anyway, it's a whole other thing. Circle K has a bunch of wonderful snacks and drinks, by the way, that you can bring your friends and your coworkers. Of course, you can save lots of money on that, by the way. That was another very impressive thing about the trip yesterday. My bill cut down by like $10 just because I put in my Inner Circle phone number. And that's what will happen if you join the Inner Circle for free right now by downloading the Circle K app. Of course, terms and conditions apply. At participating locations, visit CircleK.com for details. But when you sign up for the Inner Circle, you'll save money on all those wonderful drinks, all those wonderful snacks. You also save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups over at Circle K, as well as 3 cents off per gallon every day after that. So stop by America's Thirst Stop, get yourself a drink, but don't make your coworkers go fill up an XL beverage when they already have 2 hands full of bags and drinks.
Yeah, it was unreasonable.
It's unreasonable. Yeah. And of course, that leads me also to an Indeed.com ad read, where Jesse, of course, if you're looking for a new ad man,
I got a text on my phone saying that I'm getting besmirched in the chat. Yo, shout out my man Michael. Appreciate you helping me out.
Wait,
what are you
bad,
saying?
Michael.
What are you saying?
Michael, you're a rat, and now I can't trust you. Was it Michael Rokicki? Was that who it was?
I'm not going to tell you.
I know it was Michael. But again, if you're looking for a new ad man, or maybe a new PHNX D-backs host for besmirching the crew, you can find one of those qualified people over at Indeed.com. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. And when I say that, I mean Indeed will save you time and effort on finding qualified candidates, because they will make that match for you. And not only will they make that match fast, but they will also match you with qualified candidates, that's what helps the process out so much. You don't have to go through so many unqualified candidates to find somebody that matches what you're looking for. You can use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. It's a different Mike.
I think we figured out which Mike
we figure out what Mike. That's fine. That's absolutely fine.
No one else would be saying things like that about Max.
Mike, you're absolutely a rat, but I appreciate you at least getting Max's back. And of course, when we hire a new ad man, I mean, maybe you can be his friend too. But Indeed right now will not just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. So join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/allcity. Just go to Indeed.com/allcity right now and support our show by saying you heard about the PHNX D-backs podcast, or Indeed on the PHNX D-backs podcast. Indeed.com/allcity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Jesse, it doesn't get any easier, or maybe it does. I don't know, because the Diamondbacks right now have won 7 series in a row. Meanwhile, they prepare to do battle with the Philadelphia Phillies, who may have, after tonight's game with the Dodgers, have lost 7 series in a row. It has been a very rough stretch for the Phillies since the All-Star break, and you'll love to see it.
Yeah, the Phillies are still a very good baseball team. This isn't they've certainly had a couple of injuries that have popped up. Right now they're without Ranger Suarez, which obviously was having an outstanding season, but this isn't a rough stretch that you're like, oh, maybe the Phillies aren't good, or maybe the Phillies aren't nearly as good as we thought they were. The Phillies are still a very, very good baseball team, and the Diamondbacks will have their hands full this weekend as they come home, and pretty quick turnaround. They're probably just getting on the plane right now to leave Cleveland, and they've got a game against the Philadelphia Phillies back here in Arizona tomorrow. If we look at the Phillies, some of their stats for the season, they have been very good at a lot of different things. Again, they're just 3-7 in their last 10 games, but they're 67-46 on the season, a 3.37 ERA for their starting rotation, a 4.02 ERA for their bullpen, which I think is a little misleading. They just made a couple of upgrades in that regard at the trade deadline. A 747 team OPS, which ranks 7th in all of baseball. And then they are also 7th in baseball and outs above average at 16. So, Derek, this is a team that does pretty much everything pretty dang well. And it's going to be a fun weekend. Of course, the Phillies making their first trip back to Arizona since the NLCS. Pretty crazy.
It's Petty Ring Night, Jesse.
It is.
I can't wait for Petty Ring Night on Saturday. Yeah, we changed our schedule around a little bit due to the weather delay, and now we will be bringing you a post-game show on Petty Ring Night, which is very exciting.
You were going to be there anyway, right?
I was absolutely. Who are you talking to? Of course, I want my Petty ring. I want my Petty plastic ring. I can't wait for it. But of course, I also can't wait to watch the Diamondbacks, who are very hot right now, take on the Phillies. This couldn't be more exciting as far as a time to play the Phillies, with them struggling the way they are and the Diamondbacks putting things together and having especially their starting rotation nearly back to 100%. I think that's the most exciting prospect. Not only does it, improve their starting rotation, which goes unsaid, but you also have the fact that the additions to the bullpen definitely changed the bullpen, which has to figure things out before we get to the end of the season. I mean, that's a big part of at least the time they have. They have a little bit less than 2 months to figure out how this bullpen is going to come together, who they're going to rely on, what those roles are going to be. And most likely that is going to be something that Torrey still does once we get close to the end of the season and in the playoffs. Like, he's going to have his guys. He's going to have his setup man. He's going to have his closer. He's probably not going to keep this versatility that he's currently, kind of going with in the 9th inning. But hopefully that adds some stability.
Yeah, I mean, if the Diamondbacks did make a mistake at the trade deadline, which I'm not saying they did, I think it's way too early to be saying anything like that. But if they did, it's probably that they didn't add a true closer to this roster, right?
Yeah.
Paul Sewald wasn't removed from the role officially until after the trade deadline. But even as of the deadline, there were some signs that Sewald was slipping, right? Obviously, his July was pretty rough. And so, that's a decision that could backfire on the Diamondbacks, frankly. What would it look like if the team had also gotten Tanner Scott in addition to AJ Puck or something like that? Of course, you're spending a heck of a lot to do that. But if looking ahead to the postseason, as it looks increasingly likely that the D-backs will be there, you have to ask the question, who's pitching the 9th inning for you in the playoffs with the game on the line, the biggest moments that you have all season? Whose hands are you putting the ball in? And that is not an easy question for the Diamondbacks to answer right now, frankly. There's a variety of options. It's not to say the options are terrible. A lot of these guys have had good seasons, but there's something to be said for just knowing who that guy is and feeling confident, knowing you have one of the best in the league in that role. Paul Sewald wasn't always pretty last year, but he was really one of the best down the stretch in terms of his save conversion rate, just turning games into wins, even if it wasn't always the prettiest thing. That'll be an interesting narrative here as we get into these final couple months.
Corbin Barrels back in the chat actually has the one idea that would be better than Petty Ring Night. He said, I was hoping for Alec Thomas planting the flag bobblehead.
That would be such a great bobblehead.
That would be,
and I'm not a bobblehead guy.
I'm a huge bobblehead guy. That would be such an enormously
That'd be
awesome.
a very petty bobblehead. Like give out the Alec Thomas planting the flag.
What's pettier, that or the ring?
They're both pretty petty. I mean,
I love
you're
them
doing it with the Phillies in
so
town. I mean, I
much.
guess that's what makes it really petty. But that would be, I'm sure people would love that. Yes.
Super chat there, Jacob. What do we got from our guy Kevin Conqueso? Kevin says, "Sweep. Let's throw some shade." We will throw some. I should throw some shade at Jesse. I don't know why, but we have no shade to throw today because we are nothing but happy after the 18 innings of baseball we watched. I do
you
want to
probably could throw some shade at me for how much I doubted you when you predicted that Erod would go 5 2/3.
You know what? The amount of anger that you experience just based on the fact that prediction hit is enough for me to feel just great about that. But Jacob, let's take a look at the probable pitchers for this series. We still don't know how things are going to shake up for the Diamondbacks, but yes, folks, yes, your eyes do not deceive you on what you are seeing on this probable pitcher list. We don't know for sure. We have no confirmation, but there's a good chance that we might see Merrill the mainstay there in Game 4 against the Philadelphia Phillies.
I mean, it seems a little bold to me, Derek. Like, Merrill Kelly, high A pitcher. He's a little older. He's in his mid-30s. I liked what I saw from him yesterday. Prospect with some potential. Making when we were setting up to make this graphic, I had completely forgotten that Merrill Kelly had actually pitched for the Diamondbacks this season, and we were about to put like 0-0 with a 0.00 ERA.
It's easy to forget.
I was like, wait a second, Merrill Kelly actually
pitched well.
He did. He made 4 starts in April and March, I guess, and was actually quite good. He had a 2.19 ERA. All of the pitchers we just showed are now official, with the exception of Merrill Kelly starting on Sunday. So just so everyone's clear, we are the ones who are guessing as of right now. It is just sort of an educated guess that Merrill Kelly will pitch on Sunday. He does line up. As I said, he started yesterday in Hillsboro. We'll talk about that more in a second. He does line up to make the start on Sunday. And because of the doubleheader situation, the Diamondbacks need someone to start on Sunday. None of the current 5 guys that they have could make that start. Gilbert Diaz, I don't think they could bring him back because Sunday marks 14 days since they sent him down, not the requisite 15. So they need something on Sunday. And as of right now, our best guess is that it's just going to be Merrill Kelly going straight from high A, that rehab outing that he had yesterday, back to the big league, starting in what will be a pretty big series finale against the Philadelphia Phillies.
So just an update on this. John Gambadoro at Arizona Sports says that they are leaving it up to Merrill to assess how he feels today.
Okay.
After that start yesterday.
Well, and they left it up to Erod for his decision in regards to whether he would go have one of those rehab starts or he would get his first start as a member of the starting rotation like he got. And that worked out fairly well. I mean, Erod was that's one thing that we didn't even talk about today. Even though he left after 5 2/3 innings pitched, and I was fist pumping when Torrey got up and went to take him out just because it made me absolutely correct on my prediction. But he was only at 65 pitches. And I mean, again, that just showed that he probably had something left in the tank. Like the Diamondbacks probably could have left him in there for a few more innings, or at least one more inning, or who knows how that would have gone. But you don't want to, go too hard on that first outing, and you want to build on, the good day he had, confidence wise. But again, we got Jordan Montgomery going in Game 1 of this series against Colby Allard, which is looking to be like
a bullpen game
for the Phillies, right?
Yeah.
And then things get significantly more difficult after that. They have Zach Wheeler taking on Ryan Nelson, Aaron Nola taking on Zach Gallen, and Christopher Sanchez taking on TBD, which we are hoping and praying will be Merrill Kelly.
Yeah, if it's not Merrill Kelly, I don't really have a great answer of who that would be. Christian Christian Mena, as we reported recently, is out for the season. Unfortunately, Christian Mena will not be an option for the D-backs the rest of the year. Slade, yes, I guess, but I really think the D-backs want to avoid using him as a starter
because it's going to be a bullpen game if he does start.
He could be like the bulk guy in a bullpen game. You probably don't want him going 4 or 5 innings. Maybe you can keep him to 2 or 3. That could be an option if they're able to get through Friday, Saturday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and still feel like the bullpen is in a good enough spot to do that on Sunday. But it's tough because then you've got, it's the Rockies. It's on a great team that you're playing on the back side of that series.
Right.
But it is still, you're playing 3 more games immediately without an off day. So to have a bullpen game right in the middle there might be a bit of a challenge. So yeah, we'll see. It would be not exactly a soft landing for Merrill Kelly if he comes back to the majors and it's Schwarber and Turner and Bryce Harper and Alec Boehm, looking back at him from the batter's box. But that might be what happens here. We'll see what happens in the next few days.
Merrill strikes me as the type of guy that's he's just gonna go out there, like he wants this.
I'm sure he does. It's just a matter of, I guess, how he feels. And on that note, we do have some footage from our friends over at the Hillsboro Hops because Merrill Kelly pitched yesterday. Derek, Merrill Kelly pitched. For those of you who are missing baseball,
look at this prospect. What a guy! I think he can make it in the bigs.
I think he has a shot. Yeah, it wasn't great. His final line: 4 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs. He did give up a homer, no walks, 2 strikeouts. You can see one of his strikeouts there. It was, from a numbers standpoint, not particularly sharp, but
sure.
Watching this game, it looked to me like a spring training outing. You could see Merrill not really sequencing his pitches the way that he probably normally would. I didn't see that many changeups, at least from the portion that I was able to watch. Obviously, that's Merrill's best pitch, and it's a pitch that he didn't use much in spring training because he was like, it's always going to be there for me. I don't really need to work on that all that much. And there were other things like, he misses a first pitch curveball. He's not able to get it in the zone. And at one point I saw him shake like 3 times, and because he wanted to throw the curveball again and give it another shot. So he wasn't approaching this outing clearly from like a results. I'm trying to dominate Hillsboro. I'm trying to dominate high A hitters as best I can. He was approaching this as like, I just want to get my pitches right, and I want to work on what I want to work on and get the work in that I need to. And he did do that. He threw 62 pitches in this game. 38 of them were strikes. He did pitch into the 5th inning. He faced the first batter in the 5th. So yeah, I guess there were, 4 up downs there for him. So from a workload standpoint, he would be fine theoretically to come in and pitch on Sunday. It's just a matter of, how does he feel about it? Does he feel like he wants to fine tune things a little more, make one more rehab start potentially, and then come back after that?
More importantly, the Hillsboro Hops won the game. That's the most important thing.
They did,
Jesse
yes.
has. Not only that, Gino Groover had his first career 2 home run game.
Yeah.
So great things from the young man himself. And of course, Merrill Kelly is just so important to this starting rotation. The fact that Merrill is the mainstay, it's almost like several of other pitchers in the starting rotation, including Eduardo Rodriguez, right? These guys aren't going to overpower you. They're not going to go out there and put up incredible numbers at times, but they're going to be effective. And if this starting rotation can come together, if Jordan Montgomery can be himself from last year in the second half and maybe feel a little less pressure, considering that he's now surrounded by some very talented pitchers in that starting rotation and doesn't have to kind of toe the line with Brandon Pfaadt and a bunch of guys getting called up, maybe he can, come back to what the Diamondbacks thought they were getting when they brought him on as a free agent. As far as Erod today goes, that's great. I'm very happy with what we got out of him, and it's very encouraging for the future. The Diamondbacks just needed him to be a guy that can go out there and give him quality starts. Again, he's not going to be the ace in your rotation, but he's going to be a guy that can give you 6 innings and can give you a chance to win ball games. Merrill Kelly, though, he's the one. He's my security blanket, right? He's the one that just makes you feel safe and good all the time. And I'm not really worried about his numbers with the Hillsboro Hops. I'll be worried about his numbers when he comes up and joins, the big league club.
Yeah, 100%. I was told there were no velo readings if you were to watch the game on MILB TV, but I was told he was mostly sitting 91 93, which would be a pretty normal range for Merrill Kelly. I think he averaged about 92.5 on his fastball last year. So maybe it was down a tick, but not anything concerning at this point. So, and it was similar with Erod today. Erod's velo and the stuff looked pretty much the same as last year. So there aren't any red flags here in terms of what we saw with Jordan Montgomery, where he went to AAA and it was like, oh my, this guy is throwing 2 miles an hour down from where he was a year ago. Maybe he gets it back, maybe he doesn't. As things have turned out, he hasn't really gotten it back. So from a stuff standpoint, I think Merrill is pretty much, it at least looked pretty familiar to me. But facing Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber in the middle of that Phillies lineup is a whole lot different than facing a bunch of like guys who were just in high school maybe last year. It's a really big difference. So we'll see what Merrill wants to do.
Well, in case you missed it, the Arizona Diamondbacks are a wagon. They win this series. They sweep this series from the Guardians. They win game 1 7-6, game 2 today 7-3, and then the second game of the doubleheader 5-3. We will be here with post-game shows the rest of the week, at least, again, Sundays for us, but at least Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we'll have post-game shows after those Phillies games. So make sure to come right back here, join us after those games wrap. But until then, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at Cap_caveman with a K. This maniac is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, today on the ones and twos was none other than the father overlord, Jacob himself, Faj. You can follow Jacob at Jacob_Franklin4 because he's the 4th best Jacob Franklin known existence. We're trying to get him up the rankings, but it's just hard. The other guys
it's really tough.
They're very solid.
3 years working on this.
Yeah, we've been trying, but sometimes the perennial top dogs are hard to beat. Of course, you can follow our show at PHNX_DBacks, but all roads do lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We love you guys. We thank you so much for your time. We will see you back here tomorrow night. You have yourself a wonderful evening. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you can predict the future like me.
We all silly like the mayor.